Oklahoma and Auburn get set to do battle down in Norman. This is our full preview, prediction, and breakdown of Saturday's contest between the Sooners and the Tigers. Hello, everyone. I'm Chris Phillips. He's Cole Thompson. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. As always, make sure you like, subscribe, turn on notifications. Check us out via podcast. Wherever you get your podcast, you can also find us across all social media platforms, as well as our website, SECUnfiltered.com. And as always, we are powered by our friends over at FANDUEL. Visit FANDUEL.com/SECU to get started with $250 in bonus bets when you win your first $5 bet. Once again, that's FANDUEL.com/SECU to get $250 in bonus bets today. It's the game of the weekend down in Norman, Oklahoma. Sooners, Tigers get set to do battle, and we are here previewing, predicting, and breaking down this game. I am Chris Phillips. Joining me, as he always does, my co-host, my colleague, my partner in crime, Cole the Bear Thompson, joins me once again. Bear, what's going on, man? I appreciate you taking the time. Lot on the line in this football game. It was circled for both sides, for both Oklahoma and Auburn, and the storylines are abound. Take your pick, and can't wait to dive into it with you, my friend.
What a game. What a matchup. What a storyline-driven event. I mean, not only is this the return of Jackson Arnold to Norman, this is also the moment to where John Mateer can show why he truly is the upgrade and the reason why Oklahoma can dream of a college football playoff. For both these teams, it's a week to remain undefeated before they go into another tall task of facing off against a quality opponent that could have massive playoff implications on the line. It's a moment where we get to see these two offenses kind of take that next jump forward, because 3 games in, you feel pretty good about where you are. But now we're moving into the second quarter. We've already gotten through the first 15 minutes. We got 45 to go before we go to the college football playoff, which is the overtime of the sport. What are we going to see from both of these units as they look to take that next jump? Who is going to be the breakout star on offense? And who is going to be the coach that faces more scrutiny and pressure depending on how the teams look after this game? And it's going to be a blockbuster cinematic event at one of the best stadiums and atmospheres in college football. If I need to continue to sell you on why this game is going to be fantastic, you are not truly meant to be watching this college football Saturday. This alone, knowing what's at stake, should entice you as a college football fan.
Yeah, certainly, Bear. Again, you look at this game, not just the game of the week, but I think to this point could end up being one of the games of the year, a top 25 showdown down there in Norman, Oklahoma, and certainly one. You know, the atmosphere, we were there a couple weeks ago, will be absolutely electric yet again. Sooners and Tigers doing battle, both sitting at 3-0. Oklahoma victors over Illinois State, Michigan, and Temple. Auburn taking down Baylor, Ball State, and South Alabama. So a big test for both as Oklahoma, Bear, gets it rolling in SEC play. Heck, this is the SEC opener for both sides. So again, a lot on the line when you consider all that is taking place. Again, this game happening, of course, this Saturday, 2:30 Central Time kickoff on ABC there in Norman, Oklahoma at Memorial Stadium. Bear, the Sooners are a 6.5-point favorite. The over-under is set at 48.5. What's interesting about this is this. Oklahoma opened around a 4.5-point favorite. Since then, the money has been pouring in on the Sooners, nearly now a touchdown favorite in this ball game. Oklahoma leads the all-time series, Bear, 3-0. Last meeting, of course, what a thriller that was. And really a game that I think kind of summarized the struggles that Auburn had in 2024. The Sooners won it in a thriller, 27-21 down there on the Plains, thanks to a Kip Lewis pick 6 late in that football game. Again, Bears, we dive in this one. When you talk top storylines, again, it's take your pick, right? I mean, I think this is a game that from the Oklahoma and the Auburn perspective, Bear, you know, before the season, we talked most important games and games that would impact the season for each individual SEC football team, the games that were most high impact. Rarely do you have a crossover where for both sides, it is the biggest game of their season. And granted, it was debatable, but I think you and I agreed this was one that was not only one of the games of the year in the SEC because of early season implications, but no matter what the records were, right? Whether Oklahoma lost to Michigan or beat Michigan, whether Auburn lost to Baylor or beat Baylor, now you could argue the stakes are even higher because both are undefeated. Both have these college football playoff aspirations. It is a massive, massive game in Norman. One side is going to be leaving this game, Beer, feeling really, really happy, really optimistic about their head coach, and really optimistic about the direction of their program. And the other is going to be leaving pretty down to the dumps with a lot more question marks than answers at the quarter mark of the season.
Well, think about this for a second. Both teams needed to have that statement moment that things have changed. And it happened for Auburn in week 1 on the road in Waco. They won a football game with just ground and pound physicality, over 300 rushing yards. You saw the mobility of Jackson Arnold truly step on up. And those are things that you can say, we have a quarterback that can run our system the way that we feel is confident. And we know there's more than meets the eye when it comes to passing attack. It was in week 2 for Oklahoma going up against a Michigan defense that, despite having its issues offensively, still was able to show at times it was physical, it was winning at the line of scrimmage, and he was able to get into the backfield and pressure John Mateer. Just Mateer made more plays. Mateer was able to maneuver his way out of a tackle. He was able to step on into the pass and deliver a shot downfield. But these are against two teams that right now we don't know what their future is. Baylor may end up going 10-2 and winning the Big 12, and it becomes a more significant win for Auburn, or they could go 6-6. And Michigan at this point, we haven't seen that offense show any identity. So we're not sure, is this a good Michigan team? Is this a bad Michigan team? The bottom line is that both of these rosters have an opportunity to catapult and use this as a springboard into building that repetition and repertoire as being a threat to win this conference, to be a legit force that can make plays in the open field, that can actually go toe-to-toe against some of the more challenging, daunting programs and go win outright. And once you build that confidence up, it's very hard to slow down. It's very hard to have those self-inflicting wounds. And both of these teams so far have evaded that for the most part. I mean, last season, this game came down to which team was going to have the fewer self-inflicting wounds. It was literally a Peyton Thorne kip 6 with a 3rd and 6 ahead. That's all you had to worry about. So when you look at it from that perspective, there are so many things to where this game can be utilized as a moment that everything turns the corner. People start buying more into Hugh Freeze. They start seeing the identity of what his roster is. They start seeing the vision for his offense. If you see more better offensive production from Oklahoma, you're starting to realize that Ben Arbuckle truly was the right hire. We're not going to be missing a beat when it comes to the overall identity of who we are. And Brent Venables, give him time to readjust, reassess, and maybe take over a defense. We're right back in this thing. It was a 1-year hiatus for us. It wasn't an entire tall task that was going to be our future. We actually could be a threat right alongside Texas, right alongside LSU, right alongside Alabama to be in this for the SEC year in and year out. So both those things are very important. But it starts with how you set the tone in this game. Truly, how you come out of the gate swinging is going to be such a major factor for either side.
And Bear, certainly in a matchup like this, quarterback play is always a top storyline. But certainly when you have a guy making his homecoming the way that Jackson Arnold is, that alone will make this game must-see TV. It is obviously very well documented what happened last year with the Jackson Arnold experience in Norman. And it goes to show you, Bear, how quickly things can change, right? I mean, in the preseason of last year, I remember Oklahoma folks telling us this guy was, he's QB1, he's the man, he's running it down in Norman. And it felt like as quickly as we heard all of that, even faster, he was on the bench, he was watching from the sidelines, he was demoted from his starting position. Obviously, he then hits the portal. It all fell apart last year.
Yeah.
Jackson Arnold lands on the Plains. Obviously, Seth Luttrell is gone. There was a complete overhaul on the offensive side. I know Brent Venables, he voiced this at Media Days, Bear. I know he's got a lot of warm feelings to Jackson Arnold and probably loves the kid to death. I don't know how warm the welcome is going to be from the Sooner Nation, if you will. I think they're going to try to make this obviously the most hostile environment he's ever played in, and they want to prove a point, right? They want to get theirs. Him going back into that environment, going back into Norman, number one, I am curious the reception. Oklahoma folks are great, so I don't think it'll be anything nasty or rude. But, I mean, Bear, you always want to win the breakup, right? Like you do. You do. No matter how you slice it, it's going to be a lot of fun to watch Brent Venables scheming against his old quarterback. And from the X's and O's side, I don't know that we know a ton about Auburn. Still, offensively right now, this is going to be his opportunity, Hugh Freeze's opportunity, this entire offense's opportunity to put maybe some of those narratives to bed about the passing game or, answer some questions about what this offense is really.
I mean, think about it. Right now, Oklahoma went from dating the normal girl on campus to having a TikTok star that's being able to pay the bills. Like, that's what they currently have with John Mateer as the quarterback. We're all talking about him. Everyone is just highlighting his ability to make plays behind the line of scrimmage, his elusiveness, his physicality, his unyielding way of just being able to create second chance opportunities. But Jackson Arnold has also done those same things down on the plains. I mean, he single-handedly was able to lead Auburn to a win over Baylor with over 150 rushing yards. The way that he was able to respond against Ball State, I mean, he had 3 passing touchdowns in that matchup. This past week against South Alabama, there wasn't an elite passing game there. The completion percentage was certainly low, but then when you throw in his second element of the rushing attack, and he had 2 more scores on the ground, I mean, it's 8 total touchdowns, 4 passing, 4 rushing. There's a lot of people that want to be able to see what he can be in this matchup. And you are right. We don't really know what this offense truly is at this moment because we haven't seen the vertical passing come through. It doesn't mean it's not there. It doesn't mean that you can't win with guys like Eric Singleton and Cam Coleman and Perry Thompson and Malcolm Simmons and Horatio Fields on the outside. It doesn't mean that Jackson Arnold can't let it fly. They've just had to win a football game because of what has been presented with them. And so this is a matchup to where you look at it from the perspective of Jackson Arnold. How much can he learn from last season playing with the scout team defense and knowing what that defense is going to look like underneath Brent Venables throughout practice? What is he going to know about how Brent Venables likes to scheme things up because of what he saw when he was a redshirt freshman or what he was there when he was at practice trying to be truly QB1? Those are elements that you have to yourself to say, I know which way that he is going to blitz. I know when you see a certain signal call, what he's doing is he's saying that they're going to make a shift to the right, so I got to call an audible and make it to the left. Things that are going to be really beneficial because of your relationship with that coach. But on the flip side, Brent Venables knows this type of quarterback. Brent Venables knows what makes this quarterback tick. And he has to know it because of, number one, he went up against it in practice and gave him situations and gave him coverage plays that eventually led to a lot of people on the message board saying, Jackson Arnold, I know he's a 5-star, but man, those turnovers, they keep piling on up in practice. I mean, it ain't looking too pretty. And then you have the actual game film and you say, there was a reason we turned to Michael Hawkins. There was a legit reason. So Venables knows what makes Arnold tick. Who has shown more growth at this point? Is it Venables being able to once again get over his former quarterback and put him in a situation where you are going to have to force him to pass? You take away the rushing attack of Jeremiah Cobb. We don't know the stats of Damari Ulster for this game. Hopefully, it's going to be promising for the Tigers' standpoint. You take away his legs. We're forcing you on 3rd and 11. You have to throw it downfield. Or is Arnold going to be able to say, I watched that film against Michigan, and I saw what you did to Bryce Underwood. I'm going to know where I need to be at the right stage at the right moment. That way, I can continue to get positive progress. Because, again, this game already has a certain Michigan Week 2 feel. If you take away the rushing element and you force the Tigers to win through the air, it could be the exact same result. Does Jackson Arnold have that in him to be able to create those opportunities to connect downfield?
Bear, on the flip side, another big opportunity for the Oklahoma offensive line, right? The running game has been solid. I don't know that it's been great. Interestingly enough, obviously, Torrey Blaylock is your leading ball carrier at this point with 166 rushing yards. Jade Knott, the Cal transfer, really hasn't gotten going. But, again, other guys have stepped up. John Mateer has been a big part of the rushing attack as well. We talk about Brent Venables and the chess match with he and Hugh Freeze and the Oklahoma defense and the Auburn offense. How about the other side? I mean, DJ Durkin, he can call it up too for the Auburn defensive side. Ben Arbuckle, obviously, for OU. John Mateer is a difference maker, of course. I'm really excited to watch that chess match on that side. We saw Oklahoma, especially end of game, able to get a push, run the football when they not only needed to but wanted to against Michigan. So we have that proof of concept. But, again, Auburn, their front seven. This is an SEC front. A little bit of a different test here. Great opportunity for Brent Arbuckle Company. And, again, John Mateer making his SEC debut. Again, the more you prove, the more there is to prove, I feel like. You went out and beat Michigan. You did it against a big-time Power 4 opponent. Now you get to do it in the SEC. So excited to watch John Mateer ball, man. And, again, it comes back to the Oklahoma offensive line against Keldrick Falk. Those guys, a really, really good Auburn defensive front holding up their end of the bargain.
Yeah, Auburn's been able to go up against a few mobile quarterbacks. No one like Mateer, but still a few mobile quarterbacks to where they know what they got the scheme on up and who they have to line up in certain spots to be able to win their one-on-one battles. Michael Fasusi, the 5-star offensive lineman, he's going to have a day. I mean, that's his Keldrick Falk coming against you. Keldrick Falk, regardless of how we feel about Auburn by the season's end, this is an all-SEC defensive end. This is somebody that is not going to take it lightly, and this is somebody who absolutely is smart with the IQ and knowledge of pass rushing situations, that he is going to win a lot of one-on-one battles and put you as a young offensive tackle in a position where you do not want to be off your step, because that is a moment away from getting Jackson Arnold sacked. What I'm excited about in this game is we're at this point of where, and this is something that we have to do better as, I think it's just college football media people. We have to stop living in the preseason expectations and go into the here and now. We all said Jaden Ott was the guy. Jaden Ott was going to be the dude that we thought was going to come on in and be a difference maker for this ground and pound attack. He still might eventually, but this is the Torrey Blaylock show. Blaylock was awesome against Temple, over 100 rushing yards, 2 great touchdowns, 2 exceptional runs to the outside too for 20 plus yards. He is now your lead guy. And the thing that you and I have talked about a lot when it comes to John Mateer and this Ben Arbuckle offense, we know that he can run. You don't want to stop him from running. That's part of the selling point of what you brought him to Norman for, is that he has that mobility. But you got to have somebody else without the number 10 being a trustworthy adversary on the ground that can put you in manageable situations. So Blaylock in this matchup, what can we see from him? What can we see from Javonte Barnes? What can we see from Xavier Robinson? What could we see from Jaden Ott, even in a limited role? Do you feel like that you have the cats that can go alongside with Mateer that you know are going to be able to run the football efficiently and put you in manageable situations? Now, on the flip side, what's going to be really interesting for DJ Durkin's defense, are you going to make an audible? Are you going to make second half adjustments or second quarter adjustments? Because the thing that we noticed, they play a lot of man coverage. They run with their receivers. They run downfield with their open targets. And they'll sometimes take away one of your 2 receivers. The Baylor game is a perfect example where, yeah, you got rid of Josh Cameron. Okay, best receiver on the field's gone. You still had to worry about Kobe Prentice. You still had to worry about Michael Trigg. You still had to worry about Cole Wilson. And you then have to worry about, but what happens if you just spread it out? And Ben Arbuckle says, let's go deep. Deion Burks, you're running a go pattern. Isaiah Satenga, you're running a post pattern. At third receiver, you're running an 18-yard comeback. And now it's 18 yards downfield, and the linebackers are spread on out. Well, that's John Mateer's calling card. Okay, nobody's open, tuck and run, let's go. So when you play that run man-heavy formation, are you going to be able to get back into alignment and stop John Mateer before he takes off with his legs, and then it's an automatic first down and a reset? You're going to have to run more zone. Does that mean potentially you could give up a few more extra yards after contact? Absolutely. It's definitely something on the table. But this is something that you may have to do to take away the best element of who is John Mateer. So the ground game is going to be really important for, I think, Oklahoma in this matchup. We want to be able to see who can be that extra secondary runner. But the scheming and the chess match of what we get from, are you going to have that spy the way that we saw a few years ago Harold Perkins play against Arkansas with Malik Hornsby? Are you going to have that player that is just simply locked in on 10? Is that going to be something that you monitor? Are you going to make adjustments for playing a man defense to a zone defense to take away Mateer's element and give up maybe 2 rushing yards versus giving up 7 rushing yards because you're playing too far back? It's little things like that that are really going to control the game. And if Oklahoma can win that battle early, they may be able to jump out to a lead that's so unsustainable where you got to put pressure on Jackson Arnold to deliver. Is it possible for him to go into this environment, a place where he was thrown to the wayside, and respond properly without having to worry about the other outside noise that is internally conflicting with him?
I do think a difference maker in this game, Bear, because I'm just sitting here thinking about so many questions still for Auburn. I feel like I don't know a ton about them because you beat a Baylor team that, again, like you said, I think is solid, but we don't know for sure what they are at this point. And then your other 2 games, Ball State, South Alabama, it's really tough to take a ton away from them. Meanwhile, Oklahoma, again, I was there in person, actually saw them take down what I think is a pretty solid Michigan squad, probably going to be a 7, 8, maybe 9 win team this year. Who knows? Again, they still have some question marks on their side, but it is certainly a battle of some unknowns. I think the Auburn wide receiver room could make a big difference in this football game, making some plays down the field. That's something that Michigan, I agree with you. Your Oklahoma, stop the run, make Jackson Arnold make plays with his arm. You obviously got to control him. Both these quarterbacks love to run the football. They'll get outside the pocket. They'll improvise. I thought Arnold made some nice throws in that season opener against Baylor, but I think that's the way you have to make Auburn beat you. But here's the thing. They got some dudes on the outside that can beat
They do.
you. So you got to be very careful. You're playing with fire. you give up some explosives, this game can turn on its head really quickly, and then you're the one playing from behind. Also, who steps up on the outside as well beyond Deion Burks for Oklahoma? Is it Satania? Is it – I know the tight end Kanak has obviously had a huge start to the season. He's actually leading them Bear receiving yards with 245 through 3 games. So that's going to be a really interesting battle, I think, on the perimeter between these skill position players and just who's able to limit the explosives, who's able to hit those explosives and change the momentum of this football game. Both these quarterbacks, I think, will have opportunities in this one. So it's going to be a wildly fascinating matchup on both sides.
So there's 2 X factors for me on offense, and we take out the quarterbacks, and I'll even take out the running back rooms just because if we don't know who is playing truly right now. Jeremiah Cobb's had a really good start to the season, pairing along with Damari Alston. I think that right now it's Torrey Blaylock's job to lose his RB1. But the 2 names that we got to be talking about for Oklahoma, you already mentioned him. Jaron Kanak has been phenomenal. He's averaging 17.5 yards a catch. And just remember what happened in that matchup down in Waco against Michael Trigg. Michael Trigg was winning his one-on-one battles, physicality after contact. He was making plays in the open field. This is a tight end that stands 6'6" and can win with route running and can win with the catch radius. If you're lining him up in man coverage against an Auburn linebacker or a safety rolls down to the box and then you try to take him away, all you have to do is make a pretty ball placement from John Mateer, and he's winning that route. And then that physicality, if you can't make initial contact and drop him right then and there, he's going for an extra 7 or 8 yards. So getting Kanak involved as much as possible is going to be essential. I think is that security blanket. This is what most NFL teams love to have. This is what a lot of college football teams love to have is a security blanket that works in that 8 to 15 yard range. Kanak's been that. From Auburn's side standpoint, I know Cam Coleman is wide receiver number 1. I will die on this take and say that from a talent perspective, he is one of the most finesse pass catchers in all the sport. But this is a reason why you bring in Eric Singleton, is games like this, to be able to scheme on up certain design packages, whether it be on jet sweeps, on motions, line him up in the backfield and do a quick pitch to the outside, let his bull line speed, bullet ratio of hitting a target on a bullseye, get into the open field and not miss. And he's been good up to this point. He has 2 receiving touchdowns. He's averaging 11.5 yards a play. He had a great game, in my opinion, even though it was very limited against USA. There's a reason why he has been brought in here. It's because of the multi-purpose ability of what he provides and how he can turn little dink and dunk passes, little short gains into massive yards downfield. So he has got to be a factor. He's got to be always known. If you are Oklahoma, you got to know where number 1 is on the field at all times. You have to. And if you are, if you're Jarrett Stidham, not Jarrett Stidham, if you're Jackson Arnold, you need to know where number 1 is on the field at all times. Because even if you just have the opportunity and they go a cover 0 all-out blitz and they're sending guys up the middle and they're winning in front of a very impressive and a very underrated Auburn offensive line that we have not talked enough about for how well that they have performed keeping Jackson Arnold upright in their matchups. If they go all out and you just know you got to get a quick pass out to number 1, he's going to turn a play into 7 or 8 yards. And what was supposed to be a sack and a loss of 7, it's a gain of 7. Those are the 2 guys offensively on either side. They're going to need to have a big game. If you tell me what their stat line is at the end of the night, I feel pretty confident about who walks away with the win.
Bear, quick stat before we get into our predictions here, just of note. I mentioned that Oklahoma offensive line and the test for them. Auburn is tied for first. Granted, taking into account the competition, but still tied for first in the conference. 11 sacks through 3 games for the Auburn Tigers defense. They also rushed the football 242 yards per game. Once again, take into account the competition, but both lines of scrimmage going to be key for the Sooners, certainly key for both sides. Auburn, I think, can play disruptor if they can get in the backfield, make John Mateer uncomfortable. We saw him against Michigan. He's one of those guys, live by the sword, die by the sword, playmaker, but at times maybe can force the football a little bit, put it in harm's way. Obviously, turnovers, it goes without saying, Bear, every single week, a key factor in this game. Certainly when you get into SEC play, that is maximized. And we saw those turnovers change this game a season ago.
One other main takeaway. Oklahoma's red zone defense has been phenomenal this season. Their defense in general has been one of the best in college football. And I get it. It's Temple. It's Illinois State. And it's an offensive Michigan that doesn't have really much to talk about at the wide receiver position. And outside of a fluky run that was a 75-yard scoot and score from Justice Haynes, it was really a clinic. 6.3 points per game. They're being able to shut down the run and force you to win through the air. This is a top 10 pass defense secondary. There's a reason why they're stopping the run. And there's a reason why they're forcing you to pass, and nobody's able to have success. So again, for me, my standpoint, Oklahoma jumps out to an early lead. We're talking like 14-3, and you got to play down by double digits for the rest of the game. Do you feel like Jackson Arnold has that dog in him to bring it back? And it's going to be something that's really important, because there is an opportunity to where if you take away this rushing attack, the only way we're going to know how improved Jackson Arnold is by seeing him let it fly. And you may have to let it fly in this game.
It's going to be a fun one, Bear. That being said, let's lock in our picks. Let's lock in our predictions for this one. Oklahoma, Auburn, SEC opener for both squads. Would you like the honors?
I'll go first.
Okay, go ahead.
I have been thoroughly impressed with the way that Auburn has been able to work its offense. They give what is handed to them, and they don't try to complicate things. That is just a mature play design from Hugh Freeze, not being willing to say, we got to see more from the passing attack. No, the passing attack's not there that day. Fine. We will run the football into oblivion until they tell us that we have to pass. And it's worked, and it's why they're sitting at 3-0. The Damari Olsen impact is going to be massive. Jeremiah Cobb, him being there, is phenomenal. And I do think that if you have Jackson Arnold just given time to connect with receivers downfield, the weaponry is there. It truly is. From Oklahoma's standpoint, defensively, they have reignited a new fuel underneath Brent Venables. Offensively, it's very clear that there was an indication, no impact, no life whatsoever last season underneath Seth Luttrell. And change was inevitable. And it meant change by letting go of a quarterback that may or may not end up being successful in a new location. But you had to hit reset and wash your hands clean of what was a disastrous first season by your standard in the SEC. John Mateer cannot be your only runner. He can't. You have to have somebody else be that impactful bruiser on the ground that keeps your quarterback upright, because of the games that you have ahead are so daunting, are so dire. He will not survive an entire SEC season, and this is game one. So you got to be able to have that secondary element in that rushing attack. The offensive line is going to be tested. We're going to know more about who they are as a program against this defense, because this is still a top 15 defense on paper, and the way that they've been able to respond game after game, force turnovers, a lot of 3-and-outs, play in man coverage. They'll give up some explosive plays, but they'll capitalize inside the red zone. There's a lot to like about what Auburn presents. The thing for me is that I got in a really bad car accident back in 2014, and I nearly died. And it was right outside of Meridian, Mississippi. And for years, I had to make that drive back to college campus because of that was just the pathway that we would go. I remember that I always asked somebody to drive with me because of when we went to Meridian, I couldn't do it. I got scared. I got nervous. My anxiety decided to rise through the roof. And it's something that haunted me for a very long time. And still to this day, whenever I make that drive on I-20 to go back to Tuscaloosa, it still gives me the shivers. It's something that changed my life forever. Leaving Oklahoma changed Jackson Arnold's life forever. And it's a moment to where he has to face the demons and be okay with knowing what went wrong. And I just don't know if he can do it. And it's okay to say that this is a game against a quality opponent that you didn't have your best performance. It doesn't mean that Jackson Arnold can't end up leading this Auburn team to a 10-2 record and get wins over Georgia and get wins over Alabama. But something about facing off against a experience to where you thought your life was completely rattled by one decision, and it nearly changed the entire trajectory of where you were as a player. I just don't think it's going to show up. I think that John Mateer is special. I think that plus this defense, plus the ability to trust what you have, and an offensive personnel, and a quarterback that wants to prove to everybody else out there. As much as this is a game for Jackson Arnold to show up to the country, this is going to show up to Oklahoma fans. Simply Oklahoma fans. I'm the right guy to lead this program. This is why you brought me in. I think John Mateer does that. I think it's an early lead. I think Oklahoma wins. I think Oklahoma covers. I got a final score of 30-21 I think Auburn plays well. I think Oklahoma plays like it's a college football playoff team.
The pressure is all back on Brent Venables. It's like the Michigan game, I feel like, never happened. I said that, Bear, when I was there a few weeks ago, that at that point in the season, obviously the Michigan game was the biggest game of the season for Brent. Talking to Oklahoma fans, talking to some of our friends and colleagues that cover the Sooners, that work there locally, like they only reconfirmed that when they talked about how important that game was and, what it meant for him. I thought our good friend Josh Mahler over at Oklahoma Voice of College Football, he actually put it in a very interesting light I didn't think of. He said, a loss will do more than a win will do. A win just kind of keeps you at baseline, hey, we're on track. A loss, and, well, you know how SEC fans handle losing, Bear. The sky is falling, it's all crumbling down. This one, I think a win would be a little bit more high impact because you get off to that 1-0 SEC start. If you win this game, Bear, if you're Oklahoma, you go into a bye week. Then you've got Kent State. You're all but guaranteeing, right, being 5-0 going into Red River. And if you've been watching Texas, obviously, I think that'd be a big deal to go into that game undefeated. So I think a win would be a little bit more high impact in the way he spoke about that Michigan game. But I think it's interesting, right, because we talked about that Michigan game. Win or lose, this was going to be the biggest game of the season to this point because of what would be on the line. If you'd have lost to Michigan, can you get your season back on track? Because you can't afford to start 3-2. If you win that game, okay, now now what? Now what? So what? Now what? Can you build off of it? So I think it's interesting. The pressure, it's back on Brent Venables like it never left. And for Hugh Freeze, kind of same thing. This is kind of the put up or shut up moment, right? Like you passed the test on the Brazos there Friday night, season opener. You beat Baylor. You've had 2 cupcakes. Can you go win a game like this on the road in the SEC, hostile environment, high caliber opponent that's essentially standing in the way of what you're trying to accomplish, which is the college football playoff? I'll say this, Bear, because I think you nailed a lot of good points here. Nothing for me has really changed from my preseason perspective of this game, to be totally honest with you. Both teams are sitting where I thought they'd be. I thought both teams would be 3-0 coming in this football game. I've been most encouraged by what I've seen by Oklahoma's offensive line. I think they've actually got the big uglies this year up front to compete and win week in, week out in the SEC. They're obviously much improved. They've got a game changer at quarterback. We know that. Ben Arbuckle, I mean, he's done a phenomenal job, I think, as the OC, and the defense is as salty as any. I think this Auburn team, though, is a very good team. Excited to see what Jackson Arnold does. Again, that's the big storyline. Going back into, where things fell apart miserably a season ago. I think Auburn defensively doesn't get talked about enough. Extremely salty. Like I said, 11 sacks coming in this football game. They will be all up in John Mateer's back pocket all night long. But this is why you went and got a guy like John Mateer, Bear. To go out in a game like this, show up when the lights are brightest, and make big plays and make things happen. Again, like I said, nothing's really changed for me from the preseason, Bear. And in the preseason, if you recall, I did have Oklahoma outlasting Auburn and winning this football game. I haven't changed that tune in the slightest. I like Oklahoma to come out. I think they win. I think they win by double digits. Maybe the game's a little bit closer than the final score indicates. I think it's a late touchdown similar to the Michigan game that Oklahoma puts the final nail in that coffin. I think John Mateer is going to go crazy in this game, kind of a signature John Mateer moment. There's just no way Brent Venables and company are allowing Jackson Arnold to walk into Norman and beat them. There's just no way. They can say how much they love the kid, and I'm sure they do. But behind closed doors, this week's hitting a little bit different for some very obvious reasons. I think you're going to see that OU defense flying around, hair on fire, kind of same thing we've already seen. But again, there's a little bit extra juice in this one, a little bit extra motivation to go out, prove a point. I think Oklahoma does that. Give me Sooners 34, Auburn 20. Maybe it's a one-score game late. Oklahoma gets that final touchdown to make it a double-digit score and, again, make it look a little bit worse. And I think if they can, they will, just to hammer down the point. But bottom line is this, Bear. I think Oklahoma They win this football game. I'm with you. When that spread came out, I said hammer the Sooners. I'll probably still hammer the Sooners minus the 6.5. I just don't see any way Auburn's walking into Memorial Stadium with Jackson Arnold as their quarterback, with all that's on the line for Oklahoma, and winning this football game. The atmosphere will be elite yet again. Sooners will prevail and move to 4-0.
And John Mateer, welcome to the actual race for the Heisman Trophy. Because so far, we see a lot of people hyping you up. This is one where we actually have to start looking at this with a little bit more gusto.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, if he has a big game, certainly I think his name, if it's not already, he's got to move to the forefront of that conversation. So again, Bear and I both going with the Sooners over Auburn. Do you agree with us? Do you disagree? What are your thoughts on this matchup as Oklahoma and Auburn get set to do battle Saturday afternoon in Norman? Guys, before we get out of here, we appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. I want to tell you about our friends over at FanDuel because, as always, brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Guys, FanDuel is getting you ready for the NFL season with an offer you won't want to miss. New customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet $5. If it wins, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use all across the app. You can build parlays, bet player props, ride the live lines, whatever your style, FanDuel's got you covered. The NFL season is here. The only question is, are you ready to play? Visit FanDuel.com/SECU to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Once again, FanDuel.com/SECU to get in on the action today. Guys, once again, we appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. As always, make sure that you like, subscribe, turn on notifications, check us out via podcast. Wherever you get your podcast, you can also find us across all social media platforms as well as our website, secunfiltered.com. Till next time, he's Cole the Bear Thompson. I'm Chris Phillips. We appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. We will catch you all on the other side.